All right, here we go. We're back again live. Welcome to the other side of the coin. This man, he doesn't need any more introduction. He's one of the best people in football Twitter. His name is none other than James Smith. James, welcome back, my brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm so happy to be back. Third time on the podcast.
Brilliant, and it's going to be more and more frequent, hopefully down the track, because I feel like us regularly need a platform to, voice our opinions and let off our frustrations sometimes that we tend to have. And this is a good platform to do that. So, yeah, now do appreciate that you're here. We're not going to talk about Jose Mourinho because both of us are well and truly over it. So we're going to come back to talking about what we always enjoy, which is talking about our club, Chelsea. So topic today is basically building up towards the Man City match that we're going to have during the weekend. So I want to talk to you about, first thing, I want to build up this match before we get into the formations and, player selections and whatnot. I want to build this up. So what I want to ask you first up, James, is how, from your perspective, I suppose, how do you see, Chelsea's season so far and Man City's season so far? And where are both of these teams sitting, I suppose, in terms of emotionally and mentally at the moment?
Well, Chelsea obviously are above a lot of people's expectations on what they were set out to achieve. A lot of people had them, including me. I had them finishing sixth. They might still do that, but it's very unlikely now, I'd say. I think you had them finishing fourth, didn't you? So, I mean, fair play to that. Yeah, but obviously Chelsea with this young team, it's really, really impressive. The season's been started a bit shakily, but massively improved. We've got, I think, six wins in a row in the league. Hopefully make it 7 this week.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but it's been really good for Chelsea's point of view, definitely. Man City, I think, would be a bit disappointed with how their season's gone so far. They have dropped off a little bit from last season, but it's very, very difficult to keep up that level for 3 years. They've done it for 2 years. Jose always says when he was at Chelsea, I know we don't want to talk about him, but between 04, 05 and 05-06, he said it's really difficult to get them motivated, and he had to sort of get that drilled into them, and Pep's done that. But again, we saw then 06, 07, we sort of dropped off a little bit. So it's kind of expected, I guess, for Man City, but they're still an exceptional side, and although they do have a few injuries in terms of especially defensively, they're still a top side, and we're really going to have a tough game.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. 100% understand what you're saying. In terms of how we started, right, and to where we are now, what do you reckon has changed? So think about that for a moment, and then Man City as well, how they sort of started this season. As you said, it hasn't been that great. Maybe motivation might be a bit of a factor, but in terms of the footballing aspects of it, where has it changed for us, and where has it sort of a little bit changed for Man City since the last 2 seasons?
Well, for us, obviously this season we started off defensively very, very poor. We weren't keeping any clean sheets at all. There was a lot of defensive lapses, lots of concentration. There was the zonal marking, which is a real problem for us. But Lampard's since changed that; he's improved that. We've gone to sort of hybrid sort of thing. He's got a bit of zonal marking in the 6-yard box, and then man-to-man everywhere else, which is working a lot better. He's put Zuma around the penalty spot to deal with balls coming in. So in terms of defensively, we have improved a lot, I'd say, from the start of the season. And in terms of from last season, going off the way Maurizio Sarri played, it's much more direct, the football. In terms of Sarri would like to keep possession, almost for possession's sake, just to keep recycling the ball and sort of just keep passing it around, make sure we don't lose it. But Lampard's already instilled this idea of when you get the ball, you've got to go forward. Let's go forward. Let's attack down the wing. Let's get crosses into the box. And that's a lot different from last season. We didn't see many crosses going in last season. There was still, partly because of Alonso, but a lot of crosses are coming in this season, especially with Reece James. He's unbelievable in terms of his crossing ability. It's much more direct, that's probably the major difference for us. So it's still a similar sort of style in terms of possession. We do like to keep possession, but he's sort of given players that I would say were sort of more restricted last season a bit more freedom, especially Kovacic, who I'd say was more having to focus on passing. He didn't really dribble past players. He wasn't really being allowed to sort of run forward as much as he is this season. I'd say it's a more dynamic team this year. Sarri was more regimented in terms of the way he likes to play. It's all about systems and sort of creating different triangles everywhere. Lampard allows more freedom, and he allows more sort of creativity and attack, I guess. With Man City, I wouldn't say anything's changed per se. I think it's a lot of injuries have actually caught up with them, especially in defence. Laporta being injured for, I think, 6 months is a huge blow for them.
Massive blow.
And especially, obviously, losing Company, and they haven't replaced him. They have John Stones and Otamendi as the only fit centre-backs who aren't really at the level of what the rest of the Man City squad is. So they've had Fernandinho dropping back, which has made a bit tricky for them because the partnership at centre-back isn't as solid as it could be. Rodri's also had to drop back into defence, and Gundogan's been playing. So it's all a bit sort of mix and match at the back for City at the minute, especially in centre-back. So other than that, I wouldn't say it's any different. They're still playing the way they were. It's just they've just been probably a little bit unlucky. Maybe they've been a bit complacent. I wouldn't say that really is that much of an issue for them. I'd say it's just a lot of teams are just more sort of energized to beat them, if you know what I mean. Once you've got back-to-back league titles, anyone coming up against you is going to want to beat you because it's a massive scalp for any team. So everyone's going to be playing out of their skins against them.
No, well said, man. A couple of things. Ramit, just quiz comment, he's mentioned the same thing as you've said, James, where Otamendi and Stones are not the kind of players who can work under the pressure, and we are good at creating pressure, so that might help a lot, which is pretty much what you just said. And the other thing that I really liked what you've just mentioned was in regards to Chelsea. Last season, we were more, I suppose, mechanical, and this season we're more unleashed. And this is what I truly like about Lampard, how he's unleashed the kind of players like Kovacic and even Jorginho. I feel like he's evolved as well from what he was last season. And even our wingers, you look at Willian, you look at Pulisic, you look at Callum Hudson-Odoi, every single one of these players are so direct when they're running, as opposed to trying to. You'd remember this from last season. Like, how many times did we see Willian run diagonal as opposed to, instead of going that way, he's more going straight now. And Pulisic is the same as well. So, no, good points. Absolutely good points. Agree with you, definitely. Now, let's now move into the implications of this match, right? What does, I suppose, a win, loss, or draw means to Chelsea, and a win, loss, or draw means to Man City from your point of view?
I'll start with Chelsea. A win for us would be, I'd say, unexpected. We're not expected to go to Man City and win. We've got a very, very young team. Obviously, a lot of inexperience in the team, especially with Fikayo, Tammy, and Mason. Especially those three have been playing mostly out of the younger players. So obviously they're inexperienced. They've not really played against this level as often as the other players in the team. We've obviously gone up against bigger teams already this season in Liverpool and Man United and lost 4 out of 4, albeit 1 on penalties. But I'd say the performances have been pretty decent in those games, maybe apart from the Carabao Cup one. But yeah, a win for us would be incredible. It would give us a lot more belief. We already have a lot of belief in terms of what the players are getting from Frank Lampard, and they believe in how he's playing and how he wants the team to play. But beating Man City at the Etihad would be a huge win for us. Just to instill a more confidence that we're already at that level that we can go and challenge the back-to-back champions at the Etihad would be massive for us. I'd say we are the underdogs going in, definitely. A draw or a loss would probably be the expected result. I'd say a draw again would be fantastic because we're going away to the Etihad and getting something out of the game with this young, inexperienced side would be brilliant. So I wouldn't say any result would have any long-term negative implications for us. Even if we lost, it's again probably something that is expected, and it's something we can learn from. But for Man City, I'd say they have to win. Obviously, they just have to win to keep up with Liverpool. So the pressure is massively on them. Draw or a loss would definitely see the end of the title race for me. Liverpool, I think are 9 points clear. I think
9 points clear, and I feel like this pressure on Man City is going to be in our favor. I feel like this is going to be in our favor because they, as you said, if they lose this,
even draw it.
I reckon title's over. Even draw it, I reckon title's over. Like,
well, I don't
know how you're going to catch.
Yeah, it's crazy. Because I think Liverpool are so far ahead already. If Man City drop any more points, then they are in real trouble. And I can see us. We've got the players to trouble them. If you think of how we're going to play, I will probably get onto that in a bit. But especially with their defensive issues, I think Tammy can cause them some problems there because Fernandinho isn't the most physical in the air. He's not as tall as some other centre backs. So if he plays centre back, which he probably will, then Tammy can get on him and try and dominate him in the air and hold the ball up. So I think we have a good outball there. So it'd be interesting to see how we play against them.
No, and thinking about this match, and the more this is getting closer and closer to the match day, I've got this sneaky feeling we can get a win here. Like our team, yes, we're underdogs for sure. We're not expected to win this match, but we've got some really fast players. We've got some really technical players. Defensively, I'm very much more confident with Tomori and Zuma in being in there. Centre do lead goals in set pieces. Sure, those problems are still there. But in open play, I honestly cannot remember, bar the Ajax goal, I think their third or fourth. I think their fourth goal, the second half where they opened us up. But besides that, I can't remember when was the last time where we got opened up by a team and they scored. All I remember is set piece goals against us. And then Man City, with their defense that they have, and I feel like, as you said, we've got quality players to hurt them at the back. Pace-wise, I think we can match them. And in fact, we're probably even better than them pace-wise, I feel. Yes, they have Sterling. Who else do they have in their other wings? Probably going to be Bernardo Silva.
Bernardo Silva is actually suspended.
Right.
So he has a one-match suspension from that tweet. So most likely be Mahrez.
Twitter's killing everyone. They got to stop it. Players are getting suspended because of tweets.
But still, Mahrez isn't a bad player to have.
No, absolutely not. So, in terms of implications, I think Man City, anything besides a win, I can't picture how Liverpool has 4 losses this season. Yes, it's very, very early in the season, but I mean, can you imagine Liverpool losing 4 this season?
Not at all. No, I think they're too strong.
Absolutely. Cool. Now, let's talk about the next thing that we wanted to say was Pep versus Lampard. I want to build up this match even further. I think this is the first time Lampard's coming against Pep. I don't think they've played against each other in management before. What does it mean, I suppose, for Lampard, this particular match up against? I know a lot of people call Pep a fraud, but for me, he's the Messi of managers. He's the Messi in the management world. And then consequently, what does it mean for Pep also to come across probably Frank Lampard being one of the hottest up-and-coming managers at the moment? This is not, this is another Ole Gunnar Solskjaer kind of scenario where he's a legend of the club comes in. And no, I honestly think Lampard is a genuine manager now, and he can actually have a solid career, down the track. So from both perspectives, what does it mean for each of them, this particular match?
For Lampard, it's a real tough test because Pep is a master tactician. We've seen what he's done with his teams and how he sets them out. His tactics are unbelievable, in a lot of games. So for Lampard, it's a real tough test because he's not come up against many top managers. He's only come up against Klopp, and then Mourinho last season when he was at Derby. So those are the only two managers who come up. He's beaten Mourinho last season. So and then against Klopp, he gave him a real good test both times. So I think Lampard's, although he's inexperienced, he is experienced in these matches as a player, and he'll know what to do, and he knows how to set his team up. Because even though we haven't got any points out of the big games this season, a lot of the performances have been really impressive, and a lot of the performances have come in terms as the results have come from individual errors from us. So I think Pep will have a real challenge against this team, because it's not something he's faced too often. And Liverpool play, I would say, relatively similar to us in terms of the pressing style. And Man City always struggle against Liverpool. So that could be something to look at in terms of the way we press and the way we play. It could hurt Man City. But yeah, for Pep, it's going to be an interesting challenge, because he's coming up against someone he's never come up against before. He's coming against an inexperienced manager. There's not much telling what he will do. Lampard, he's obviously very adaptable. We've seen that already this season in terms of him playing three at the back, 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, went to his two striker against Ajax. So there's a lot of things in Lampard's locker in terms of what you can do, and Pep is limited in terms of what he can do due to injuries and suspensions, etc. So it will be interesting to see how it goes.
Well said, man. Just give us 2 seconds, guys, because I've got the prayers sounding in the background. So let's just wait for a minute before we can actually kick off again. So just bear with us, guys. Cool, guys. Thanks for being patient there. Sorry, the prayers sound was just happening, and it's just rude to continue on until that is finished. Now, getting back again, absolutely wonderful what you said, James, in terms of both managers and what they, what it means for them. I think you're right. I think it's huge for Lampard and armory in his side. With Pep, even though it is a lot, it means a lot to him, this particular match, but he is limited somewhat. Now, looking at players' expectations, teams' expectations, from a Chelsea point of view, first of all, who are your probably top 3 or 5 players that you're really, really going to look into for a top performance this particular match, whether it be in defense, midfield? Who are, you're banking on them to really produce this match?
First of all, Tammy Abraham. He absolutely has to produce. He's going to be our outball. I expect City to have a lot of possession. So if we're knocking the ball out to Tammy, he needs to be able to hold it up. He needs to be able to link players up. So he has to be performing. Otherwise, we're really going to struggle to get something out of the game. Hudson-Odoi, I would say, if he starts, I would say he likely would if Pulisic is out. Obviously, if Pulisic does play, then Pulisic is one that I'd have to would want to step up. So whoever's playing on that left wing basically has to perform for me. We know Willian's going to give us a good performance because he seems to be in a really good form. So every game he's given us a good level. But for me on the left, that has to be the same as Willian on the right. That's been a really good performance. And Hudson-Odoi, if he does play, hasn't been at the level that we've come to expect. But that is obviously going to happen with his injury coming back. But he needs to have a good performance. Jorginho, again, we already know how good he is, but he needs to again have a really good performance to dictate the tempo of that midfield and control the possession in there. because Man City are a fantastic team in midfield, and we need to be able to dominate that midfield area. And if Jorginho is on form, we're on form. Again, at the back, I would say Tomori. He needs to be concentrated. He needs to be really on his game. Recently, he's had a few moments of lapses of concentration in the game. He's had a few shaky passes. He's sort of had a few lapses in concentration. So he needs to be on his game, and he needs to make sure that they don't happen against Manchester City, because if they do happen, Man City have the players to punish us. Especially if that falls to an Aguero or a Sterling or even Mahrez, De Bruyne, all of those players around there, David Silva. If any of them get the ball off of Tomori mistake, we're in trouble. So he has to be at the top of his game. And Kepa as well. I would say he has to make sure that he's improved, because recently although I do rate Kepa, his passing out of the back has been pretty shaky. I would say he keeps sort of pinging it into the middle, kind of aimlessly, and it keeps falling to the opposition. It happened a couple of times against Ajax. So for me, Kepa needs to be on his game in terms of passing and in terms of how he's playing. So those are probably the five. So Kepa, Tomori, Jorginho, the left wing, either Hudson-Odoi or Pulisic, and Tammy Abraham.
It's dropped off. I think
You're back.
You're back. Yeah, back. Something must have happened in between. Yeah. I last heard you were talking about Kepa.
Oh yeah. So Kepa for me has to perform. His passing has been pretty poor recently, especially against Ajax. We saw a couple of balls just go into the middle of the pitch, and which was picked up by the opposition. So yeah, for me, he has to perform. He has to get that passing spot on, because against Man City, obviously, if you give away possession, it's going to be costly. So yeah, that's the five players: Kepa, Tomori, Jorginho, whoever's playing on the left, and Tammy Abraham.
No, makes sense. I was thinking about this a couple of days ago, and for me, Kepa was the one that I thought of straight away. Knowing the way we play from the back, and we're not going to all of a sudden change our game plan just because it's Man City and start hoofing the ball straight up. I feel like we're still going to continue on with the build up. He's going to be so important, along with Jorginho and whoever else is in the middle, because they're going to be crucial in the build up. And if he gets his passes wrong, and there's going to be no doubt that Man City are going to press. Every time we're going to have the ball deep, they're going to press and stay as close as possible. Probably not as aggressively as they normally do, but they will press high up so that they can win the ball high up. So Kepa's distribution has got to be spot on. I feel like our right backs, left back, this is why I feel, and we're going to touch on the lineup soon, Reece James is going to be massive. He needs to play, Emerson needs to play. We've just got to have those distributions to those wider areas, and then them supporting with Jorginho and Kovacic is going to be so important for us to build from the back, and then the really quick zippy balls towards the wingers from midfield to really open things up, because as you can imagine, Man City is going to push up. There's going to be so much room at the back, but I don't think we can just hoof it up to get to the back. We've got to intricately play through the middle and then open it up from the back. No, absolutely agree with you there, James. A couple of things that some of the guys, let's just quickly read out. I think I saw Ramit was saying similar kind of players as well. Yeah, Tammy, Jorginho, Zuma, Kepa, Mount. I think that pretty much what you've mentioned as well, bar Mount. I think you've said another left back. Eli's mentioned Pulisic and Kova. What other comments do we have? Mikel is here. Hey, Mikel, how you doing, man? So yeah, cool. Next part is which particular player from Man City's point of view that you think, or a couple of players from your mind that you are going to be quite concerned about, that those other players that could seriously hurt our current team, whoever it is at the back or whoever it is at the middle. These are the couple of players that I'm quite concerned about. Who are they?
For definitely De Bruyne. we look at our defending from set pieces and from aerial battles. It's not been great this season, and De Bruyne is one of the best crossers in the league in terms of where he can whip balls in. A lot of people say he just crosses and crosses and crosses, and that's all he does. But he does it really well, and that's the danger we have. We saw against Ajax. I think the first 3 goals were all from crosses in, and every single goal was pretty much the same. So we need to be able to deal with that. And De Bruyne is going to keep putting those crosses in. He's going to keep testing us. So Tomori and Zuma needs to be able to win those balls and get them out, because that's not going to stop.
Man, that scares me already. I'm already scared, actually.
That's the thing I'd say, because De Bruyne isn't going to stop those crosses. If he gets on the ball, we need to close him down really, really quickly. And then obviously Aguero is obviously the other one, because any chance he gets is a goal.
Yeah, man, you honestly just scared me with those 2 players. I don't know. For a second, I was like so confident as soon as you mentioned Kevin De Bruyne and Aguero, although I knew they're going to play. But now that you've highlighted exactly what they can do, I've just pictured in my mind Kevin De Bruyne just whipping those balls in, finding those angles, finding all those runs from Aguero and Sterling. Man, we better be ready. Zuma, Tomori. Would you say this is by far will be our biggest test so far in the season? I know we've come across Ajax and Liverpool.
Yeah, this is definitely the biggest one, because it's away from home and it's against the biggest team in the league, the best team in the league that has been for the last 2 seasons. We've played Liverpool at home. I know we played United away, but they're not as big as the other teams, not as good. Even though we've lost them twice, they're not at the level of this Manchester City team. So away from home against them is going to be a really, really tough test, and probably our toughest one, I'd say.
Are you worried that, I think last time we went over there was 6-0, right? That was the last time we went over there.
Yeah, it was.
And I don't want to say this. I don't want to see that 6-0 again, because that hurt me so much last season. Can you see that happening again?
No chance. Because we look at the team we played last season, and half the team is almost the same as this season. So you've got the Jorginhos, the Kovacic's, sort of Emerson, those sort of players have played last season, and they won't want to have this 6-0 again. They'll be up for a battle. They're up for revenge. They don't want to lose 6-0 again. Who wants to go to the Etihad and get drubbed? So, they're going to be up for it. They're obviously going to be up for it, because they want to prove something. They've got something to prove. And then you look at the other players we have coming in that didn't play last season. We've got Tomori, Abraham, Mount, Hudson-Odoi potentially, Pulisic as well if he's fit. So we've those players coming in replacing the likes of Barkley and Higuain, etc. So those players will have something to prove as well, and they haven't had this experience of a 6-0 loss at Man City, so there'll be nothing in their mind about that loss. And even the players who were there, they're not going to be thinking about, we lost here, we're going to lose again. They're going to be like, right, we lost here, we're going to beat them now. We're going to be up for this. So the 6-0 doesn't have any impact, I think. Only positively.
No, agreed. I think, as you said, I'm just looking at some of these comments. Alex has mentioned that Alonso played in that 6-0, so hopefully he doesn't play. He did, didn't he? Yeah. Yeah, I remember.
He was lost for the first goal, wasn't he? Yeah.
Barkley was playing as well.
Barkley that header back, and then Aguero scored. That's what I mean. Man. Any chance Aguero scores?
And a couple of these players, and then hopefully, I don't know. I'm really hoping that Reece James plays in that way. Zuma didn't play. Tomori didn't play.
Yeah,
so it'll be a totally different team.
Well, Emerson didn't play, did he? So you've got
Emerson didn't play.
Yeah, so it's almost half the team that is completely new.
Yeah, Tammy didn't play.
Mason Mount didn't play. Pulisic or
Mason Mount.
Hudson-Odoi didn't start.
Come to think of it, like this team really shouldn't have too many scars of that 6-0. No. It's a fresh bunch of players that should just come out and prove a point. And that's how I look at it. Now, moving into the final part of this series before we close things off for the day. What do you reckon your starting lineup? You're Frank Lampard. Your strongest starting lineup that you're going to put out against Man City away from home. and the formation that you're going to play?
I would go with a 4-3-3. I know we've been playing 4-2-3-1, but for this game, I think we need to be a bit more solid in midfield. I think we need to have a really, really strong sort of game in there. So obviously Kepa starts in goal. Reece James, Zuma, Tomori and Emerson, Jorginho and Kante. And then I have this battle between Kovacic and Mason Mount. And I probably would go with Kovacic for this game. I know Lampard wouldn't drop Mason Mount per se, but for me, I think that Kovacic is needed just to be able to get drivers up the pitch, because with Man City, you're going to be on the ball a lot. And once we get possession, we're going to be able to drive forward. And having Kante and Kovacic who can both dribble with the ball and pass it and give it to the attackers is going to be big for us, I think. And then on the wings, obviously Willian starts. And then Pulisic would start for me if he's fit. If not, Hudson-Odoi. None of this Pedro stuff. And then obviously Tammy up front. Yeah. So that's my team. I know Lampard probably won't drop Mount, but for me, I don't think this is the game for Mount, because Man City are so good at getting out of the press, and it's sort of not at the level of Liverpool's press yet. That the way we do press, because Man City have trouble against Liverpool's press, and I know people will say that that's a reason to play Mount. But for me, the level of Liverpool's press and the way they press together as a team is much more cohesive than we do. So Mount on his own isn't going to be able to sort of trouble them as much as against Liverpool. So for me, Kovacic plays in there, and Mount can come off the bench.
Yeah, no, you're a couple of things in regards to that press. We do press well, but as you said, we don't press as good as Liverpool. Liverpool have been doing that for past 4 or 5 seasons now, and I've watched a couple of Liverpool's games, a couple of times, 3 times sometimes, where I just wanted to see exactly how they press in the front three with Salah, Mane and Firmino. And it's not just them 3. Whenever they wait for particular trigger points. They don't just press non-stop. They look for a particular trigger point. It could be that when it goes to the right back and the right back passes it back to the keeper, that's their trigger point. They go in. And when they go in, it's not just the 3 that are together going in. Like Firmino goes in, Salah then cuts off one of the passes, Mane cuts off another pass, but it's the midfielders as well that are cutting the second layers of passes as well. So it's really suffocation. It's proper suffocation. And I feel like our pressing sometimes is just gun-ho, run, and just jump all over them and sometimes we've been very, very lucky, and in terms of Mount getting a couple of his goals in that manner. But there's a few times where I've seen where Kovacic would just sprint straight through, and you're like, oh man, just stop! Why are you doing that? But we are still learning in terms of the pressing. Yeah, pressing is good, but not to that level. I feel like, as you said, someone like Man City could probably negate away from that, and I would have the same team as you actually put out as well. I would actually keep Mount in the bench for this, because I want to see Kante, Kovacic, Jorginho. I feel like if we can control the midfield, where most of the game is going to be played, and then they are probably the best players to then give us the outball to our forward players, whether it be Pulisic or Callum Hudson-Odoi, Willian, Tammy. And then
bringing Mount on is obviously brilliant because of his energy, and he can create a lot of problems for them once it's maybe an hour played in the game. He's going to bring fresh legs. He's going to bring energy to the game. So there's another dimension there that we've got.
Exactly, and I don't know how much of a passing range Mount would have if he starts, in that midfield. Say we do our intricate play and we do open things up, and then Mount needs to then go for those really, really nice balls towards our wingers and Tammy. And I'm not sure how well equipped he is for that yet. As you said, second half he comes in all of energy, and maybe the Man City defenders are a lot more tired, and he can take advantage of that. Brilliant. All right. Well, in terms of prediction, man, what's your thoughts?
To be honest, I don't think we'll lose. I don't think we will, because Man City have a lot of issues defensively. They haven't got Laporte. They haven't got Ederson for this game. And obviously
that's a big miss. That's a big miss.
Huge miss for them.
Huge miss.
Which is something we can obviously Tammy with his press against Bravo could be interesting there. So I don't think we'll lose. I'm going with probably a 1-1, I'd say, for this one.
Nice. I'll take a 1-1, man, to be honest. For some reason, I can't seem to picture it just being 1-1. I feel like, I don't think it's going to be an Ajax kind of situation, but I feel like there's going to be goals.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to score. I feel like, as you said, they're defensively leaking goals. We're defensively leaking goals. I feel like this is one match where, we just need to outscore them, and I think we can outscore them. Hopefully get that win. I'm going with a 2-1, sneaky 2-1, maybe even a 3-2. Man, and that would then put us into the title race.
No, I don't. Not having this title race stuff. No.
Not this.
We don't. Why are you putting all this expectation on this team? Come on, top 4 is fine. That's the expectation for this team. That's the requirement. We don't need any more pressure on these guys.
True. Top 4 is fine, but it's great to be in the hunt. You know what I mean? Like it's good to be in the hunt.
It's good that we're at that level, but let's not get carried away.
Nah, true. Well said. Nah, you're the more sensible one. Sometimes we do get carried away. And just quickly, I want to read out some of these comments. Ramit Pulisic fills up his space very well, but that won't work against strong players. By the way, I remember him against Crystal Palace. He did come off second half, I think 75. Straight after his goal, he came off. I thought it was a precautionary thing. Is he
basically what happened is his hip injury, which stopped him going to USA on the international break. And we'll find out tomorrow for sure if he's fit. But there are a lot of reports saying that he's not 100. Was definitely not 100% for this game. So he's a doubt for sure. So we'll find out tomorrow how much of a down that is. But yeah.
Cool. All right. Eli has mentioned, by the way, for the FIFA addicts in FIFA 17, Jorginho had 70 pace compared to now he has 55. What is that? Farouk?
Oh yeah,
Jorginho,
I think I've seen that. Yeah,
55. Jorginho now has 55. He's gone down.
I saw he had 84 pace back, like even further than that when he was in Brazil. So I don't know what's happened there.
FIFA's lost their mind. CFC Alex, I'm feeling a 2-2. Yeah, look, he's not quick, but he's not 55. Yeah, that's, I could run quicker than that. CFC Alex 2-2. I'll take a 2-2. Ramit Chelsea 2-1. Yes, I'm feeling 4-2 Eli. Wow. 4-2.
Imagine that. Tell me hat trick.
Oh my Lord. I would lose my mind, man. It's a 4:30 a.m. match for us in Sydney.
Wow.
I think if it's 4-2, my whole neighborhood would hear what's happening. Let's just keep it to that. I've then got Adelaide, who's got a 3-2 us or 3-2 Man City. You've got 3 first. I'm hoping it's us 3-2. Everyone's always constantly saying Dab James, so we'll go straight past that. Michaela, what's your thoughts, man? While he puts that, Emea is saying they saw the referee video. yeah. Remember that tweet? Cool. All right, guys. That should be a good wrap up. This has been a nice build up to Man City game. It is still a couple of days away, but I'm so glad that Premier League is back. I think that was the last of the international break for this year.
We haven't got one till March now.
Oh, fantastic.
Beautiful.
Fantastic. So good.
4 months.
And we've got a lot of games coming up as well in this month of November and December. There's going to be back-to-back games in many competitions. So it's going to be fantastic to see. Just before we go, a couple of questions I always get is, what's our status at the moment in terms of the transfer ban? Is there any?
Basically, the appeal was yesterday. I think it was heard. The Court of Arbitration for Sport yesterday. Apparently, we hear in about 3 weeks or so what the verdict is of that. So obviously, yesterday was just us basically putting our point across in terms of all the evidence we have of why it should be sort of reduced to one window, which we've already served. and then they'll make their decision, I guess, over the next few weeks, and the final verdict will come in December.
Right. Okay, so we're still maybe a month away from knowing
definitely
what's going to happen. Cool. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I just found out who Adelaide is. That's Dami. Dami, thanks, man. Why the huge name? Just change it to Dami so we all know who you are. Okay. So before we go, thank you so much to Ramit, Michaela, Zippy, Eli, Alex, Dami, Amir. A few other people have probably joined in as well. I'm sorry if I've missed your name, but shout out to all of you guys. And thank you for another brilliant episode. James, thank you heaps. I want to have you more frequently, talk about these matches, build it up before any other matches, and hopefully the viewers get a bit of a kick out of it as well. So before we go, any final words from your end, James?
Well, I mean, thanks for having me on again. It's been brilliant. And let's get the 3 points. Everyone knows where to find me now, don't they? So I'm not going to keep plugging myself.
Nice. 3 points. And everyone, please follow All Things Chelsea. Must do a shout out for All Things Chelsea. Fantastic institution, and SW6 Daily as well, to all the members that are part of that institution. All right, guys, have a good day and take care. See ya.